What's going on, guys? Welcome to another podcast here on the Breaker Debates. It's me, Narik, and of course my girl, Lakeisha.
Hello.
And we're going to come on here and do it again. This time we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th film series. And I believe this is our 20th podcast-ishness. I don't know how we're going to call it. But anyways, guys, welcome. And we hope you enjoyed this conversation because Friday the 13th is a pretty significant film in the film series, in cinema. It's one of the major hallmarks when it comes to horror. It's one of the major hallmarks when it comes to the slasher genre. And the iconic figure of Jason Voorhees has, stood the test of time and has definitely helped to shape what we see as and consider as a horror.
Yes.
So, without further ado, guys, let's get into this. Now, me and Lakeisha were sitting here and we were thinking ourselves, if we're going to do this podcast, we need to go back and check out all the Friday the 13th. We haven't put the reviews up on this channel yet, but believe me, they are coming. They will be here. Having said that, what was your general opinion of the whole series? Now, we are going to break this down, but we're just going to give a simple little synopsis of what we think about it.
The series is pretty good. A little original. You mix it up. Twists and turns. I like twists and turns in movies, especially horror movies. Out of the way characters in all of them.
Yeah, yes. That was one of the things we kept noticing. It just, the series as a whole is, I think, a good and original series, but I think we both can agree that it does have quite a few bumps in it. Mm-hmm. It's still enjoyable. There's a lot of great suspenseful moments. The score is just badass in all the movies. But there are some bumps when it comes to the story and when it comes, well, not gonna say story, when it comes to consistency of the stories and perhaps the characters. I think there's maybe the two things that we kept catching that was like a reoccurring problem for the series.
Yes.
So, okay, one question I did want to ask you, and this is where it splits the series in half. The icon of Jason, which one was better represented? Was he better represented as a human, like a regular man, or was he better represented as a supernatural being?
Well, you have to know at when did he become superhuman or supernatural and as a human being, because during the series is like, okay, they did this, but yet he kept coming back when Jason was featured in the movies. So it was hard to say at the time when he became supernatural.
No, I mean like which one you think better fit him? Him being a regular man or him being supernatural? Like which one was more frightening?
I think he was better as a supernatural.
Okay. I'm kind of on the fence because when he was a man, he was still just as deadly, but he was still vulnerable. But as a supernatural, there's like no way to kill this guy, no way to stop him. So it's like, do you go for somebody that's a human that's doing this stuff, which and he's just, just doing what he's doing, but then you got the supernatural aspect, and the supernatural aspect is even more frightening, but because you can't stop him. But which one is a better representation of the character?
Okay, but when did he become supernatural?
That's the one where I think it's, what was it? Which one was it? When there was the kids at the insane asylum or something. Not insane. It wasn't an insane asylum. It was like a halfway house for like these dysfunctional teens and stuff.
Okay.
A New Beginning. That's when he became. No, was it A New Beginning? No, it wasn't A New Beginning. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Jason Lives. That's the one where he came back as the supernatural. So it's like, you know.
Well, sort of half and half.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I admit to that. There was some good things about him being a normal man, doing what he was doing. Even though there was some inconsistencies behind that too.
But him being a normal man, he still had strength. I mean, the way he killed him was just gruesome.
I mean, he kind of was a big dude.
Yeah, he still had strength, and the way he was.
Well, as far as him being human, he had the strength. He had the planning. That's one that I want to say he kind of planned. I'm not sure because the remake did it better with him planning and setting up traps and stuff, which is one reason I did like the remake a lot. Because if Jason was going to be in these woods his whole life, he would start acting like a hunter. Mm-hmm. And in the remake, he acted like a hunter. He set up traps. He had booby traps and stuff. He knew everywhere and where to go and all of that. And in these movies, he stalks people, but you don't get the sense that he's like he's actually lived in the woods his whole life.
Yeah, I don't think he actually planned. They just sort of fell on his machete.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be the best improv guy in filming cinema because he could practically use anything to kill somebody with.
Yes.
Even though a lot of those deaths was hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hilarious. They may be, but it was gruesome. Never kill the next person as he killed the last person. That's what I like. He used different things. He'd kill him one with the machete, then he still have the machete, but he'll put that down, find something else to kill the next person. That's what I like.
Okay. I want you to hold on to that thought because we are going to bring that back. We are going to bring that subject back. Okay. As far as his resurrection, did you think that the resurrection aspect was actually pretty sound? I think the way they went about it, as far as the way he got brought back, like the means that it happened, I can kind of get behind it. It's far-fetched. It's over the top.
At the graveyard?
Yeah, I could kind of get behind that. But the thing I don't like is how it got to that point. The point that it built up to, it kind of made sense and it kind of didn't. And it also goes back to what I was saying about the inconsistencies of the story. Because in story terms, Jason was cremated.
Yes.
So he couldn't have been buried. His whole body would not have been buried. And then when you kind of think about it, but what did you think about the process of his resurrection? Do you think the process itself, where his body got struck by lightning and it brought him back, do you think that's actually a pretty sound? I mean, it's unbelievable, but
I mean, maybe you could, go with the lightning as a electric shock, start his heartbeat back. They should have put it in as the way he came about. Let me see. They shouldn't have made him whole so quickly.
Yeah.
Let him form over time. He got struck by lightning. Yeah, he had the worms, but he was a skeleton. You
know what I did notice? Yeah, I did notice that too. When he was in the casket dead, he looked like a crackhead. But then when he came out the grave, he looked like the Undertaker.
Yeah, it was like, he was starting to form whole just that quickly.
He formed faster than that one movie with Freddy Krueger, the one where it showed his skin was like melting back onto his bones. He did it faster than that. But I think the resurrection itself was actually pretty decent. I don't think they could have pulled it any other way.
Yeah, but how it led up to it, I didn't buy it. I didn't want to.
Like, as far as him, like, what's the boy, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, as far as Tommy's obsession with him, I can get behind that. him going back to go dig up his grave and all of that, it's kind of far fetched, but it kind of makes sense. I think for what they were going for, that is the best storyline they could have went with.
How?
Because
I mean, yeah, Tommy went through a lot, but all these years later, he's still dreaming about it, and now he wants to go dig him up and burn him. It's, to me, it's half and half. Yeah, I can understand, but then why?
And then I also noticed, wasn't it raining when he went into that graveyard?
Yes, it was raining.
Or was it just lightning?
I'm pretty sure it was both. Well, yeah, of course it was lightning because that's how Jason was brought back.
Yeah. So, well, I'm okay. As far as that, I'm not gonna. I think for what it was, it could have been done better. But for the storyline they were going for, fine. Okay. Now let's talk about the origin story of Jason. Jason was a deformed young man who, of course, he drowned. Well, he was caught in the act of drowning.
They said he drowned.
Yeah, they said he drowned while he was at this camp. And, of course, his mother comes back, takes revenge on the camp counselors. Then after she gets killed in that act, Jason comes back. So what do you think of this story? Because it's a pretty original story.
As in his mother and then Jason.
I mean, just a straight up origin story behind it. You got him almost drowning, his mother taking revenge, him basically taking revenge for the death of his mother, and then he died. Then he came back as a supernatural being, doing what I'm saying. As far as that story, that origin story for him, do you think that's a good origin story? Because me personally, I think it's actually pretty original. It seemed like a pretty good idea. I mean, it's a good idea.
It was pretty good. It wasn't the wasn't the first series to do all that, or first movie to do all that. But yeah, it was pretty good, and how they dragged it out into these movies.
Yeah. So as far as the origin story is actually pretty decent. It's a decent one. Now there are some inconsistencies, especially when it comes to the story throughout all the movies,
and especially the characters.
Yes, yeah. And let's go ahead and just talk about the characters. Most of these characters are either complete tropes and cliches, so unlikable, or they're just people that you don't care about. Because one thing that this series fails to do is actually give characters to the audience who we actually care about. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Remember when we was talking about the Jason Lives, where Tommy was at the police station and he was arrested, and he was telling the sheriff that Jason came back, but his daughter and her friends came there.
Yeah.
Now the sheriff and the daughter, that's a storyline I could have went with. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, remember I pointed it out when we was watching it, when they got back to the camp. The whole time they was at that camp, all they talked about was what Tommy said. They didn't say nothing about their lives outside the camp. They didn't say any of their goals or ambitions. That's the one, like that. Right. All they talked about was that.
And they were, all of them are supposed to be camp counselors. I keep mispronouncing that. They didn't do no counseling, as far as in none of them, except for the one when the kids actually came. Mm-hmm. But as far as the first one through,
pretty much all
of them. I didn't see nothing. I didn't see them setting up. I saw them lollygagging, mm-hmm. Playing with each other, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But nothing pointed out that they were counselors getting ready to reopen Camp Crystal Lake for the kids. Their lives didn't, say nothing about it. They was mm-hmm. just, it wasn't character like. They was just people they just okay, we need you to do this, just set them in there, and then okay, there they went.
Yeah, there weren't any adults there. There were just mostly teens. Of course, there was like one adult there, and like I said, I realize it's a slasher film, and you go see people get killed and stuff, but that don't mean just be lazy with it.
Right.
You
It didn't have to be straight killing throughout, like from the first to the beginning. Let the killing
give us some characters that we can care about.
Lead up to like, oh, like he didn't have to get killed. Yeah. But and basically all of them, they pretty much deserve it.
Like, I mean, like I said, all of them were teens in all the movies. All of the characters, they don't really have nothing to them. Of course, there's like the one main character that actually does have some likable qualities, some backstory, but they don't flesh out any of the characters enough. That and look, like, here goes some pretty memorable characters. We have Sheriff Gareth and his daughter Megan, and Jason lives. They had that dysfunctional father and daughter relationship.
Yeah, she was like a
rebellious.
Yeah,
that's a storyline we could have ran with. That would have been a nice storyline. At least some characters we could have went with. The movie completely dropped the ball on that.
Okay, but for her to take like such an interest in Tommy, did not know who he was, just decided, okay, I'm gonna, see what he got going on.
I did not like that. That they completely forced that. If there was any characters, subplots, whatever have you that was forced in these movies, that literally had to have been the one. They literally just forced that in there to try to make you care for Tommy. Now, as far as the character of Tommy, he's one of the most standout characters. When he was in the final chapter as a little kid, okay, you got behind him and his family, which is another movie that dropped the ball because Tommy, Trish, and their mother, that was a good storyline. That subplot, we could have had great characters based off of that, but they dropped the ball on that one. But Tommy in that one, Tommy in A New Beginning, dealing with this psychological trauma that he had from, the previous film, the final chapter. That's another reason for you to like that character. That was a character right there you care for in that movie. Now, when we had them in Jason Lives, it felt like they were just pushing too much into it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, stop with Tommy, go to somebody else. So as far as the characters go, and aside from the main character of each movie, the rest of the characters don't have much going on. And even if they do have something going on, the movie does not flesh it out.
Well, it was kind of hard in some of the movies to figure out who the main character was, because who I thought was going to be the main character, had like the most going on, shoulder or him or her, in most of the scenes, end up getting killed.
Mm-hmm. And in all the movies, they all do the same thing. There's always a couple that's doing it that gets killed, or gets killed after doing it, or gets killed before they're about to do it. There's always got to be some kind of stoner guy. There's always some immature douchebag.
The use of alcohol, drugs, and you said that it seemed like even though it was on or near Camp Crystal Lake, the location seemed to differ from each movie.
I mean, they did differ, but there was nothing stand out about it. I want somebody to honestly tell me what are the defining features of Camp Crystal Lake? Like, in all the movie, you never see. Like, if somebody showed you a picture of Camp Crystal Lake, you wouldn't know. Like, the set, even though the movies take place in this setting, it doesn't feel like it. Because there's nothing defining it.
You don't ever see what you saw in the last film go on to the next one. You see, I think it's like they in a whole other different state or location than Camp Crystal Lake.
And and when we mean this is what we mean. Say in one movie there's I don't know, there's a big boulder in the field, and that's known as like, I don't know, the boulder in the field. And later on in one of the other movies, there should be a scene set up, like, and if that scene was set up in that movie with characters hanging around the boulder, other characters in one or two of the later movies should have came across that same boulder. That way you could be like, okay, yes, this is set in Camp Crystal Lake. Mm-hmm. So you'll get the feeling that Crystal Lake is actually, just as fleshed out as Jason Voorhees. And I think that's one thing. I kind of had an issue with the Nightmare on Elm Street a bit too, because everything started on Elm Street, mm-hmm. but there's nothing significant about Elm Street except for that one house. They don't show you any defining features of Elm Street. So if you watch in the next movie, you're like, oh, okay, that's the house, but it's taking place in this house now. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So as far as they could have done better with the setting, I think. Even though they were trying to go off in so many different directions. Now there was one part of the story that I thought that it was an interesting new way to flesh it out. Next to Jason being, turned supernatural, like, which was a pretty good twist. And remember I said that A New Beginning movie, I actually liked the story. Mm-hmm. And I know that fans didn't like it because it wasn't directly Jason, but the story itself actually made sense. Like, it was the killer isn't Jason if you haven't seen it, so it's a spoiler. But because of the way that the movie portrayed it, it made sense for that person to act the way he did. I don't understand why he was killing people, but I understand, like, why he took up the mask, why he, you know what I'm saying? Because it made it seem like Jason was killing people.
He took up the mask to avenge his son, who got killed in, I guess you would call it a halfway house, something like that.
I mean, I understood that, but I didn't understand why he just didn't go after the guy that directly killed his son. He went after and killed all these other people that have nothing to do with it.
Maybe he just didn't like him.
I guess not. But when you go, and this is one thing I did want to talk, because I laughed a couple of times at something. What were some of the more memorable deaths to you?
Memorable deaths. Well, the fact that you said you had something to say about the fact that he was killing them all different. That's what I saw. Okay, now we're going to take this opportunity to go back to that. It's interesting that he did that, but it felt unnecessary. Because if you take a spear and you spike one person, you could take that same spear and spike somebody else. Why spike that one person with it and then just like, okay, I'm not going to use that anymore. I'm bored with it. I'm going to go kill. I mean, it might sound like a little far-fetched, but I actually liked it. He didn't kill him the same way.
It was creative. Yeah, I give him that. It was creative how they did that.
He used his surroundings, like the dude in the porta potty.
Mm-hmm. That was hilarious.
And his girlfriend.
That was hilarious.
I mean, he used his surroundings to kill, or if they had something on them, like wasn't there a dude? Is that the movie with the bow and arrow, or one of the deaths with?
That was the remake when he had the bow and arrow.
No, when they was it was a couple of dudes. They was doing the paintball.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, he took. I don't know why he had. What did he have on him? A knife or something?
No, he had that machete.
Yeah, the dude had the machete on him. I don't know why in a paintball game, but yeah, he took that machete, killed him, and then he took something else, killed the next person.
Now I'm not gonna lie. The whole thing with that paintball gun thing, when he beheaded them 3 people at the same time, I was like, it's kind of cool, but it was like, I can't buy that. Now, remember the one guy with the glasses he chased?
Yeah.
When he got to that dude, he literally had one of the most messed up deaths. Because when they finally found that dude's body, he was chopped up into pieces. I was like, good God.
Like, he took the time to just stay hacking on him.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of felt sorry for him. But back to the point of the deaths and stuff. Like I said, like I said, I think the creativity of the deaths are actually pretty cool, and a lot of them are comical, but they do seem a bit unnecessary. It's like, if you think about it, what if every weapon that he used was a gun? He would literally shoot somebody with a 45, even though the 45 still got bullets in it. Put the 45 down, go pick up a shotgun, shoot somebody, put the shotgun down.
Well, I'm glad they didn't make it out to be guns. But, you know, he did use it from his surroundings and what he had with him. What his favorite weapon, I'm guessing, was a machete, even though he didn't use it all the time. And don't you want to mention, even though Jason didn't do this, your favorite death or one of the deaths that you liked about the boy?
Was it the one that got hacked in the face, or was it the one that was standing on his hands?
No, the one, the little messed up boy with the chocolate.
Oh, I'm sorry. The one person that got killed that Jason didn't do, that didn't kill him. Oh, I was so happy he bought the farm because he was so freaking annoying. If some girls are sitting there washing some clothes and drying some clothes or whatever, and you walk over there with chocolate in your hands, something's wrong, buddy. So when he got taken out the picture, I was like clapping. And the dude that killed him wasn't even Jason. Thank you writers. Thank you writers. Even though his death was a bit unnecessary. I mean, for the story, it made sense. But it was like, but for him being in that movie, I was like, thank the gods. Like, wow. I was like, gosh, he was so annoying. I was glad he got hacked, like, for 20 minutes. But anyways, and guys, if you're trying to impress women, don't walk up to them with half-eaten melted chocolate in your hand. You might get an axe in the back for that if you walk up to the wrong guy. Anyways.
Okay, I did like, even though it was kind of like a one punch, one kill. The black dude.
Jason Takes Manhattan, yeah. That was that was like one of the most memorable deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Most memorable confrontations. The dude sitting here jabbing at Jason's like, come on, bring it. You know what I mean? And then he got kind of tired. Next thing you know, Jason took their head off. He put that Shoryuken on them, took their head off. But as far as like memorable characters, that cat was pretty cool. And I'm glad that we actually got somebody to actually fight him. What's his name? Julius. That's what his name. Julius tried to fight Jason, got his head knocked off. So for Julius, even though you got your head knocked out, buddy, okay, thumbs up. You tried.
Okay. He sort of got the women, real quick, but they weren't, that scared. I mean, they were scared, but they did try to fight back a little bit more than the men.
Oh, you talk about like when it came down to like the last man standing?
Sort of.
Yeah, in almost every movie, like especially like the first 4 movies, it always the last man standing. We're gonna get to that, but I want to go ahead and talk about some more deaths. We're gonna talk about that. Keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. It's more of my favorite deaths are the one with the guy with the wheelchair. He thought he was gonna get him some nookie and took a machete to the face.
He was rolled out in the rain. Was it raining?
Yeah, he was rolling down the stairs with a machete in his face while it was raining. That's messed up. And it was so balanced. He didn't even fall either. Then we had the one guy, I think he just got some nookie in one of the movies. What happened? Went into the kitchen, got stabbed in the hand, and then got a butcher's knife to the face. That was funny. Especially the face he made. He was like, ah! Okay. We had the one cat that was doing the handstand, walked up on Jason upside down on his hands, got his mouth tore out.
That was sort of that was nice.
Somebody need to make a video of that. A handstand fails and put that in that movie. Now, one of the most effective deaths that we've seen was what was the one that was messed up? Remember the girl and the man was doing it, and then Jason walked in on him, and the girl looked up and seen Jason, and Jason stabbed both of them.
Yeah, that was on man when he said on the boat.
No, not that one. There was one before that. He was in the camp. The one you talking about, he didn't kill them both at the same time.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, remember they was in the bed.
Okay.
And like he stabbed through them. Like that was a pretty good one. And we also have one of the best ones. It was from the first movie where Kevin Bacon got killed. Remember he was laying in bed, and then the killer came up, put his hand around like his face because he was laying in bed and just grabbed him by the face and just stabbed the knife through the bed and through his neck.
Yes.
That one was pretty good. As far as the deaths, the movies actually are pretty solid with the deaths.
Solid original. And then very good. Okay.
You know what we did forget about that one girl that had the telekinesis. She was another memorable character, if not the most memorable character in the series. Which that was a decent movie. But as far as that, when it comes to when we said we was gonna hint on this a little bit, but we didn't.
Okay, before that, what do you think about? I don't know when exactly he started it. I'm not gonna say the first one because that was his mama. How he placed the bodies.
I thought it was unnecessary because I think as far as maybe intimidation and scaring people, it would be a good thing. But Jason, his killing didn't seem to be like he didn't seem to derive scaring people before he killed them. I thought that was a bit much.
Okay, it's like I'm like he didn't have enough time, or it seemed like he shows up exactly when somebody's getting killed, like climbing on top of houses, on the side of the house. Okay, how did he get there? And when he was just inside the house.
You talking about the one where he threw that girl out that window to that car?
Yeah.
That one was a bit much. I was like, but that was when he was normal. I think he was still a man.
Yeah, but still, okay, come on. He's there, and then he's there, and then he why? What was his obsession with placing the bodies? Is what I want to placing them. He kills them in one place. He can kill them halfway across the camp. He goes back and get them, places them hanging on the door. That way, when you open the door, and a body in your face.
I think that's more for the script. But as far as the character himself, he doesn't care about scaring you. He's going to kill you. That's his thing. He's not Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger, thrives off scaring people and messing with them before he kills them. But not Jason. Jason is like, okay. But I think that's like part of the writing. Another thing I didn't like was if you kill somebody, you take the bodies, you hide them or something, fine. Mm-hmm. But Jason MO ain't been to try to scare people. So I think all that placing the bodies and throwing people through all that, and it goes back to another thing I never liked about the series. In all the movies, almost all the movies, Jason is killing people, but nobody knows. Mm-hmm. When it comes down from like a roster of 10 characters to like the last 2, that's when they find out people been getting killed. So I never liked that. That was one of the things I never liked about the series. It's like it'd be different if it was like in the remake, and then Jason X. They found out Jason was killing people kind of early on, and then the whole time they're trying to figure out how to survive against him.
Yeah, Jason X said that was something.
Jason X was hilarious.
I also think
Jason X was hilarious.
Why would you bring a body on board knowing you don't got nowhere to go, and then all he had to do was unthought?
I actually thought that whole Jason X of how he came back and some of the stuff they did in it was actually pretty cool. I gotta give it to him. It was nice seeing Jason in such a futuristic setting and still being an efficient killer.
Right, when he got remade, I thought he looked sort of sexy.
I thought he looked pretty cool. He looked pretty cool. I'll give it to him on that. And it was nice. And this is and this is another thing that I like because Jason Goes to Hell addressed it. Mm-hmm. When the police have to come up against him. In Jason X, you got that special unit which was trying to kill him. So, and when Jason Goes to Hell, I liked how the police took him out. They actually blew him to hell.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, he was supernatural. So but his heart was still beaten. And what did you think about that? The way the man ate his heart to absorb Jason's powers, and
that's when I say again the storytelling. That was a bit far-fetched. And I'm not gonna lie, that dude ate the hell out that heart. He was like, no, you know how when you eat and you got stuff in your mouth and you make that weird gurgling noise before you attack the burger or a piece of chicken again? That's what I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I think they could have came up with a better premise, a better way of doing that. And as far as him having a sister in that movie, that
it surprised me, like, cause in none of the other ones, or even his mom didn't mention her, or another other ones mentioned. Okay, well, Jason has his long lost sister, cause it was thinking that, when she said, you killed my boy, thinking that, that was her only child. Now he has a sister he wants to kill.
You know what? Now let's rewind that. Because I don't remember. She might have said this, but I don't ever remember her saying he was the only child. Now, I kind of want to say she did.
No, she didn't exactly say he was the only child, but
in fact, guys, let us know now if you heard or if Jason is actually in the storyline the actual child. Because a part of me says I don't remember her actually saying that he was the only child. But at the same time, she might have. But then again, she didn't. She was only in one movie, and she only talked for like 10 minutes.
All right, and okay, what was her name? Half sister. So
that could be okay. I could kind of get behind it. I can. You know what? If he wasn't, though, this is what I think they should have did better. She shouldn't have been this half sister. She shouldn't have been a sister at all. What she should have been was Nora. That's her name, right?
No, Diana.
No. It's about his mom.
Pamela.
Pamela?
Was that her real name?
Voorhees? Jason's mom should have had a sister. The movie should have taken place with Jason's cousin and not his sister. That would have made more sense storyline wise, because you don't know much about the Mrs. Voorhees anyway. You don't know if she had brothers. You don't know if Jason had cousins or anything like that. And I guess because they went with the half sister thing, it might not have been established that Jason was the only one. But at the same time, there are more than enough inconsistencies in the story.
Okay, what about in Jason Goes to Hell, he needed a blood relative to be reborn. I can understand that, but that was only his half sister.
But that's what I'm saying. Story wise, it doesn't make sense for her to be in the half sister. If she was like a cousin or a distant cousin, that would have made more sense. Because like I said, we don't know what his mom's family is. That could have been her brother's daughter or her sister's daughter. Still would have been Jason's cousin. Would have made more sense.
Mm-hmm. So they said it was his half sister, And then over the years, well, she didn't look that old. She had a grown daughter, and then her grown daughter had a baby. So, what the first one was in, 1980?
I think storyline wise, it took place further than that.
Like in the 70s?
I want to say. I think storyline wise, the first movie is set in like in the 70s. Because if you actually sit down and while we watch the movies, we did realize that the style of dress and clothing and the way people talked and acted, it changed every movie. Which I will say I did like that. Because it did show that this was going over a period of time.
Okay, yeah.
So as far as that's concerned, that's cool. One issue I had about Jason's mom, and this is why I kind of didn't like her being in the first movie. The movie never supported her character. Her character literally came out of the blue. Mm-hmm. If she was a character, if she was a person at Camp Crystal Lake, while all of this stuff is going on and they're trying to figure out who's doing the killing, and then she pops up and says she did it, it would have made more sense. But she's just literally going around killing people, and then at the last possible moment, like within the last 10 minutes of the movie, she's like, they killed my son, I came and killed it, and I'm going to kill you. I'm
right,
like,
she could have signed on as a counselor
yeah.
or one who helps them.
Yeah, the movie never supported her character. I mean, I've always known that she was the antagonist of the first movie, but I never actually knew how, why, and all of that. And I finally seen it, well, we finally watched it, and it was like, the movie never supported her character. The whole time I'm sitting there thinking, is she going to make an appearance? Mm-hmm. And she never did. I mean, outside of her killing people, she never did. So, and I think as far as the whole Camp Crystal Lake storyline goes, they could have did better with that. Because even in the first movie, Jason did not supposedly drown in it. He supposedly drowned like 20 years before that movie. So it's like she killed the camp people and all that, but it was like, what happened to her? Like there's the cops didn't come get her. Like there's nothing in the movies is actually establishing what happened between Jason almost drowning and the events of the first movie. And that's one thing I don't like.
Okay, so you're talking about before she showed up and started killing, like what could have happened?
Like what did she go through that 20-year gap or whatever it was?
Yeah, and like, was it a 20-year? Because they said Jason was still a boy when he saw his mama get killed. Or was he like an upcoming teen, like 12, 13? What happened to him? And I really don't think, they say he supposedly drowned because he couldn't swim, but during the movies you see him in water, you see him killing people in water, you see him going in water, okay, swimming.
Yeah, you're right. It was Pamela Voorhees.
See, told you. But yeah, so it means, okay, he can swim, and they, it was one of them where they actually showed his deformity, when coming up out the water, the girl was reaching down to grab him.
Okay, I see it. Okay. This is when the first Friday the 13th should have jumped off. When that incident actually happened. When he was actually a little boy. But we catch it like 5 years later. Hold on. No.
It couldn't have been.
Okay, no. It happened in 57. We see it in 79. Okay. So, yeah. That's 12 years. What happened in 12 years? But, anyways, guys, look, we're coming up short on to the end of this podcast. But we are not done talking about the Friday the 13th franchise. There's so many things we still want to talk about. And we're definitely going to come up with make a part 2 to this.
Definitely.
We said we're going to finish this all up. So, anyways, thanks guys for joining us. Again, it's me, Narik.
And Lakeisha.
And we'll just see y'all on the next podcast. We hope you enjoyed yourselves.